So I suppose it's time we come back to this and check out how things are going here. Everything is just knee deep in blooms. I mean, there are so many different varieties and colors right now going on. It's absolutely insane. So let's just start back over here and we'll walk through and start doing our little guided tour here. It is, I think, the 16th of May today. It is the 16th of May, and things are moving along real nice. Now over on this side, that's all coming to an end, so I'm not gonna, well, you know what, I am gonna. Let's walk over there and just show you what we got going on. Shelly moved out the swing here. So we got a little swing to sit on through all this, but we've got our hallelujah coming to an end. Beautiful fluorescent variety. They always look better when they're just when they're just starting to bloom and they've got some open blooms, some closed blooms still. And I always like that look. They look real fresh, kind of like this one right here. And this is just an absolute beauty and favorite of mine. It's called Lem's Monarch. And you can see some of the buds still closed, the real dark colors, and then the lighter colors on the open buds. But isn't that just beautiful? Isn't that gorgeous? I love the contrast. Now I've got a few more big ones of these over that way. We'll go take a look at them here in just a few. I like that rock there. Darren put that there with his excavator when he was taking that tree down behind me. We've got some pomegranate splash. Look at that. This thing is actually loaded with buds right now. Absolutely loaded. And here's what it'll look like. We're not open yet. Actually, here's one. Fully open. One little bloom. Real pretty flower in there. It's got a little orange there in that calyx there. It's a real pretty one when the whole thing is just opened up and looks like that. And there's a lot of similar ones like that with the white with the red edge around them. And I'll take you over and we'll take a look here at all that, show you what's going on. Odike Sensation is nearing its end. They never look that good when the blooms are starting to fall away. My Loderi King George are starting to recover. I was showing you, I think I was showing you, maybe I wasn't. I've been busy and missed a lot of things, but we had some late freezes and the new growth started coming up and the flower buds started trying to open. There's one. Look at that. Look at the size of that bloom. I didn't even see that. One bloom. Look how big that is. Massive, absolutely huge and fragrant. Wish you guys could smell that. Anyway, that is a beautiful one, but oh yeah, what I was talking about. Sidetracked again. So the cold just zapped these new growths as they started coming out and just set all that back. But here, let me show you this guy. At every single one of those sites, break that off, you can see we've got new growth coming out. So we'll actually, instead of getting one, we'll get, looks like 3 or 4 new growths coming out. So it'll just be a fuller, thicker plant down lower, and I like that. But we missed out on the blooms except for that one, and I think one more down in there. That is a beautiful flower. Until next year, but sometimes that's the way it goes with the weather. So let's and you know what? The same thing happened to this guy too. This is my Sir Charles Lemon. Same thing happened. All of these got zapped by the cold weather. But look at all that new growth coming out. So these plants that did that are going to be thicker and fuller now. And it'll look real nice over time. Now there's a Taurus, a smaller Taurus. That thing, nothing phases that. Late freezes, it does early frosts, it doesn't matter. The buds bloom, the new growth comes, and it always works out great. Isn't that just beautiful? Look at that. Lem's Monarch, if you find it, grab it. All right, let's walk over this way. Let's see what's going on over here. What's up, Ruger? Ruger the dog. Here, I'm gonna set this little flower down so I can hold this. All right. We've got our Virginia Richards, whole wall of them, covered in blooms, but for some reason this one, there's 3 of them all planted together, and I did that just so they grow into each other. This one doesn't have as many blooms this year, but this thing is just covered with them over here. Real pretty plant, but we're getting kind of towards the end, as you can see. Once again, the contrasting colors are real pretty in there. That's a tried and true old fashioned. We've talked about that many times before. If you can get it, except the only issue with it is there are some rhododendrons, more and more as time goes by, I'm noticing they're getting affected by that lace bug. There's one of them little suckers. You see that little bug down in there? That's called lace bug. And they are just kicking the pants off these rhododendrons. So see all that stippling? They're eating the leaves from underneath, and they lay their eggs under there. And I haven't figured out what to do about that yet. I don't know if there's anything you can do. They've been moving up here from warmer climates like California the last couple of years, and it's kind of new to our area. As far as I understand, I'd never dealt with this problem before until the last couple of years. And not all rhododendrons are affected. In fact, here's Sefton, and doesn't really have a problem at all. You don't see the stippling. That's pollen that you see on there. And none of the lace bugs under there. I don't know what that is, but it's not a lace bug. You see look at the difference here. Under this one, you see all that? That's all their excrement. I know. I'll wash my hands, guys. But there's none under these leaves. Some rhodi varieties are not affected by it, and at some point I'm gonna make a list and start keeping track of that so that we all can share that information. So when you go out in nurseries looking for rhodis, you can maybe avoid varieties that are affected by lace bug because it's ugly. It doesn't kill the plant, and the new growth comes out beautiful, but then by the end of summer, they've stippled the leaves and just tore heck out of them. Look at what we got here. So this is Trailblazer. This is a cross between Mrs. Furnival and Sappho, and I'm not sure which came first, but Mrs. Furnival is a more tight, compact plant that can get big over time, but it's kind of compact. All the growth is shorter each year, so it takes longer to get big, but it's just a tighter plant, whereas Sappho is like it's just a big scraggly sucker. Not that one, a different plant. And somebody bred the two of them and ended up with Trailblazer, which is a really nice looking flower. I'll take you, in fact, let's just run over there right now. I'll come back. So look at this bloom. Think about this bloom. Picture that, picture that, picture that, and that plant. Okay, so that's Trailblazer. We're gonna come around over here. We gotta wind through all this. We'll come back. Ooh, look at that, Senator Jackson. All right, we gotta come around here. All these moles. I'm gonna do something about them moles at some point. There, Mrs. Furnival. So this is a much pinker variety of that Trailblazer. This is one of the parents of Trailblazer. I think it's a prettier plant, but see how compact that is, how the growth is shorter. It's not like tall and lanky like Anna Rose Whitney over here. It's just more compact and tight. And it'll get big. I've seen Mrs. Furnivals that get 12 foot high, but it just takes a lot more time. And I really like that plant. It's an old-fashioned variety, tried and true. Handles freezing temps, handles a lot. It takes a beating and just keeps on moving. But you can see all the new growth coming out. Looking good, no problems, no freeze problems. All the flower buds were good and healthy. It blooms just massively every year. I get tons of blooms every single year. Took a few years to get the blooms in the beginning, but there it is. Now I get tons of blooms every year from that one. So let's head back over. I mean, we don't want to get too out of order here, do we? Or do we? Here we go, we'll go this way. Look at this, a whole wall hasn't even lit up yet, but it's starting. Look at that, grandiflorum, I love that variety. I love it, the flower is pretty, I really like it, but the plant just grows so nice. I just love how those plants grow. Some rhododendron plants have beautiful blooms and the plant doesn't grow very well. That one, I just love how it grows. It's a nice hedge. It's a nice, huge rhodie. You've seen pictures of rhodies that get 20 feet high, 20 feet wide. What do we got over there? Race cars. This is one of them. This will get massive over time and it'll become a hedge. I've got like 5 or 6 of them in a row. I've showed you guys that before. But anyway, Sefton still got a bloom. That one comes later in the year, in the season. You can see it's wanting to start doing something because we've had some real warm days, but it's still, a lot of them are still sleeping. It really doesn't normally start opening this early. It's been a weird year between late freezes and early hot, dry weather. I don't know what's going on around here. The blooms, some of them don't know if they're opening, if they're coming or going, but it's all happening right now. And it always just happens around Mother's Day, the big show. This is Lavender Princess. Really like that variety. I got another one planted over on the other side, and I might be able, I wonder, I'm not sure. I think it's about the same stage. Depending on where the rhododendrons are planted, this probably goes for a lot of plants, whether they get more sun and heat or shade and cool, I can have two different rhododendrons, one of them over on one area that's completely in full bloom and another in another area that's like a week or two behind because of the shade and the cool area that the other one might be in. So that's something to consider. I might be able to, I don't know if that one's behind or not, but I'll have to look. Oh, look at this. See that little bee? Somebody was asking me, I just read a comment this morning, hey Mike, do you get any honeybees traipsing around in your blooms? Well, I do. In fact, I think that's a honeybee, but I'm not sure. I'm not a bee aficionado, but I get so many bees around here. I don't know, what's he gonna do? That does look like a honeybee, doesn't it? Anybody do bees? Let me know, I'm curious. Sometimes I can tell, but he almost looks like a native. He looks like a native bee, or she. Aren't they all she's? Somebody was asking me about that, and yeah, we get, I mean, I can hear it buzzing right now. You probably can't because this phone's picking up just my voice, but this whole place is just a buzz in the middle of the day when it's hot. I mean, we've got probably, I've seen probably 10 different varieties of bees. We got big hairy bumblebees in there that just kind of fumble all over the place. We got honeybees. We got these little tiny bees that are just little tiny specks on there flying around. And we've got medium size, there's all kinds of bees that come after the pollen. And this place just is buzzing when it's all happening. But, they go off somewhere and make their honey. But yeah, this attracts all kinds of native bees, and I really, really like that. I thought about getting honeybees, not for the honey, but just to have the bees around, just to get into it, because I find it interesting. I'd probably make a top bar hive and just let them keep their honey. I've actually bought the lumber for it years ago, and it's sitting on my back porch. I got some ideas for it. But anyway, Flaming Star. Really neat variety there. I love Flaming Star. That's my mother-in-law's favorite. I planted one over at her house a couple of years ago, and it's doing well. Big Sam crossed with Lem's cameo, getting to the end. That one, once again, is that cross is, ooh, there's another one. Look at that. Everywhere I go, bees. Oh, he just flew away. This cross, Big Sam crossed with Lem's cameo, is called Nacelle. But for some reason, so I went and bought a nacelle this year because I was like, I want to compare it. And that calyx down in there, that red color, is not as prominent on the nacelle. This one is nacelle exactly, except I have a nicer flower, a nicer bloom. And these look nicer when it's getting towards the end. They're kind of fading out. There's one that's a little bit further back. But anyway, I feel like I have a nicer nacelle than nacelle. So I just keep it labeled Big Sam crossed with Lem's cameo. Dad's Indian Summer. I think I've said this before, but they got one of these planted over at Point Defiance Zoo and Aquarium up at Point Defiance in Washington State. And for those of you who are new to these videos, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I am in Western Washington State, Zone 8B, and that's where I'm able to grow all these really, really well. Dad's Indian Summer. They have a real nice one up at the zoo and aquarium up there. If you're ever stopping by, it's kind of near the aquarium, kind of near the entrance, between the entrance and the aquarium. Anna Rose Whitney's starting to open up. Odike Sensation. See, I showed you that one over there on the other side, and it was, all the blooms were already dropping pretty much. And this one, the blooms are still hanging in, although they're getting near the end. Then we got Mist Maiden. Starts out pink, opens up white. All those are Anna Rose Whitney. It was supposed to be my hedge. It's filling in. This area right here is not filling in as much because it's in deep shade. Jean Marie de Montague. Look at that. Nice red. There's just so many colors right now everywhere. Let's go over here. We'll get back over. Ooh, there's the house. I know a lot of you want to know all about that. So this is, what is this? This is berry something. I always forget the name of this one. Why do I forget the name of this one every time? Oh, I never propagated this one. I bought this one and I haven't taken any cuttings yet. I haven't tried. I don't know why. I've just got so many to choose from every time it gets a cutting season. Where is it? Oh, Hackman's Polaris. That's why I always want to say berry, and it's not berry. It's Hackman's Polaris. That's a pretty bloom, though. Once again, those contrasting colors, the light pink with the dark pink. See it? That's what makes these rhododendrons really stand out when they get mature, big. And here it is, one of our favorites. Hey, buddy. How you doing? How you doing, buddy? How you doing? Say hi to the camera. Get that big snout in there. So this is my Senator Jackson. I'm in love with this variety. Look at that pure white. Look at those blooms up there. It starts out that pink and then opens up to that beautiful white. And I've said this so many times on here, and people ask me about it. Of all the years I've tried to propagate this thing, I've propagated thousands of rhododendrons, and I'm not exaggerating. I've propagated thousands of rhododendrons, and I've gotten one of these to root. It's insane. I don't know what the deal is with it. I'm gonna figure it out one day. I know it's possible. Look at that. I just love how it starts out like that. Big blooms too, and then opens that pure white. In fact, let's stop this real quick, and I'm gonna run into the hoop house and show you the one that I got to start from Senator Jackson. So I've really been going through here and cleaning things out lately, and it's looking a lot better. Here's one, Trudy. I named it Trudy because it was a cutting from a friend's flower. Trudy, if you're watching this, this is your rhododendron. And it's beautiful and it's fragrant, and I think, well, I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to say. I think it's a Fortunii. How about that? I'll just say it. I think it's a Fortunii, but I'm not 100% sure, and it's a species rhododendron. I kind of doubt it because people don't just grow species rhododendrons in neighborhoods, you know, from 40 or 50 years ago. They buy hybrids at the nurseries, and so I'm thinking it's got to be a hybrid, but I don't know. But I love it, and I just named it her name. It's not mine. I didn't invent anything new. I'm not trying to get rich off of this rhododendron. In fact, I only have this one. I just need to find the spot on my property to plant it. It just reminds me of my buddy Trudy and her rhododendron at her place. At some point, maybe I'll be able to figure out exactly what it is, but I love that one. It's beautiful. Big flowers, kind of like that Loderi King George, although it's not a King George. It's not even close. But anyway, here it is. Senator Jackson. Oop, there's a leaf. That's the one. That's the only one I've ever been able to root from Senator Jackson, and it's a couple of years into it now. It took a while to get started. It took 2 years just to root. And then I got in here and then it started taking off. And now it's finally got flowers, and they're gonna start opening here. Pretty cool, huh? I'm excited about that. Anyway, yeah, there it is. I need to figure out how to get that going more than just one. I was hoping to have a whole army of them by now, but we got figs going on. All right, let's head back out there because this one is about rhododendrons. Ooh, there's the propagation frame. I'm gonna have to film that for you guys when I start digging all them up. See them in there? We got lots of rhododendrons to pot up. All right, we're back. On the other side of this bed is Senator Jackson. Here's Fire Rim and my good buddy. Ooh, look at that. There's another one. For those of you wondering, do we have bees? They are just everywhere. Everywhere this time of year. Crawling all over the place. In fact, I don't know. Maybe that's the same girl. Oh, there's another one. just buzzing around. And it's cool out right now, but when it gets hot, man, they're just everywhere. So you guys have been following me for a while. You know, that one right there is Fire Rim. I planted it as a newly fresh rooted cutting, never potted it up, never took it through a winter in the hoop house, took it right out of the frame, tiny little rooted cutting, planted it right in the bed there and left it alone. Didn't cover it, didn't protect it. I wanted to see how tough they are. Could it survive? And that's not even the most, that's not even that cold hardy of a rhododendron. It's actually, I believe, a less cold hardy one. And there it is. And we get down to the teens every year, at least once or twice. And so I think this last one, we got down to like 9 degrees at one point. It just does it for a couple hours and then it pops back up into the teens or 20s. But there it was. That thing's been growing for a bunch of years now from a rooted cutting, maybe 6 years, something like that. Skookum, real nice flower. I only have one of them. I've never propagated this one. It's a real pretty rhododendron, but I don't know. I've got so many reds and it's not the most special. So I've got, you know, limited space in my frame. And so I've never taken cuttings of it. It's a nice rhododendron though. Stays lower, at least for now. Anything will get big over time. And there's my unique marmalade in full bloom. That's the top banner on my, I think it's the banner on my YouTube channel, on the main YouTube channel page, is unique marmalade. A week ago it was a little bit prettier. It's starting to get near the end. You're going to start seeing these. You can already tell some of those blooms are starting to fade out and they're going to start falling off soon because we're coming to the end of unique marmalade. But that's a gorgeous plant when it's in full bloom. It really stands out, and of course the phone camera doesn't do it justice, but it's what I got right now. We got bowbells, that's nearing its end. I did a little bit of video of this. Actually, you know what? I might include, I think as I'm talking about some of these plants, I did some video I never posted because sometimes I just film things and I don't think it looks that good in the light, and so I don't post it. But I'm gonna go back and see if I can throw in some of these plants that I'm showing you. Like, I think that unique marmalade was one of them. When it's earlier in the season, maybe a week or two ago or 3 weeks ago, and you can actually see what they look like. Because this one's nearing its end too, but bowbells is a gorgeous plant. Little bell-shaped flowers. And the new growth, or the new buds that open, are just a deep pink, and then they open to this white, and these hang down and the new buds stick up. So it's like little white bells hanging around all those pink buds. And the new growth is equally as nice. That's really cool looking. It's just like a bronze color. I've got several varieties like that. And there's our Senator Jackson. Beautiful. And top banana. Oh, and there's Firelight. Fred Pest Firelight. I can't even reach up there. That thing's probably 7 foot tall, and it's 4 foot deep into the bed, and I just can't reach any further. But that's a pretty flower. It's still got a little bit of time. It's got a lot of buds on it. It's sending out test runs right now. Let's go back over here. So this is Francesca. Not as thrilled with the plant. However, I think my problem is it's in too much sun. Some don't do as good and this isn't full sun, but you can see I've got some shade. The sun rises in the east here at my place, and then it rises overhead and sets in the west over that way. And when it gets about noon or so, it just goes over that tree and provides shade for an hour or two, and then about an hour of sun, and then back to shade. So this gets a lot of morning sun from directly over that way, and that's east, by the way. And I don't know if that's the problem or not, but I just went over to Rainier Rhododendrons, my buddy Lolly, and she's got a equally beautiful place and has been doing rhododendrons for many years. I've learned a lot from her. She has a full-fledged retail nursery, and I sell a lot of rhododendrons to her, and we trade a lot of varieties back and forth. But I just went over to the place the other day, and she has a Francesca. In fact, I got my Francesca from her years ago, but she has one in a lot of shade, and it looks 10 times better. The flowers on this one look beautiful. It's her genetics, but the plant doesn't look that beautiful. It's all scraggly. It just doesn't like the spot it's in. Hers was gorgeous. Anyway, so now I know it's not the plant, it's where I've got it. I'm gonna leave that one there. I'll prune it back, but I'm gonna take some cuttings and try planting it somewhere else. Cunningham's blush nearing its end. English roseum just starting up. We've got one of my favorites. Remember I said I have 6 of them planted in a row. They're just not even opened yet, just starting to maybe. Grandiflorum, love this one. It's just such a beautiful plant. The flower is, it's what it is. And I don't mean anything bad by that, little buddy. but the plant is just gorgeous, and it gets massive over time. I like it anyway. Here, let's walk around here, show you Hotai. That's my Mother's Day azalea. Don't have many azaleas, evergreen azaleas, because the deer eat them like candy. I just have a few sprinkled here and there, but they won't touch the rhododendrons. Unless you live on the East Coast, then they'll annihilate your rhododendrons. I'm sorry, it's just a fact. I don't know why. I think you guys have 10 deer over there to every one of ours, and you don't feed them. That's the problem. You don't feed them, so they're looking for food. Maybe if you'd feed them. I don't know. So this is Hotai. Love this rhododendron. It's just a beautiful, lower growing, smaller leaf rhododendron with just the most vibrant yellow. It's just pure yellow. There's no, a lot of yellows will have, like, the buds will start out a red or an orange kind of color and then open up to yellow, like the Horizon Monarch, or like Nancy Evans, or North. This one, it starts yellow and it ends yellow. There is nothing orange or red about this. In fact, there's one bud trying to open it. Maybe it got zapped, but here, oh, here's another one kind of midway. Here's another one. The blooms are still starting. There's no red or orange in it. It's just, that's what I like about this one. It's just it's a pure yellow, and it stays lower growing. A lot of people seem to like that. Pure yellow, beautiful new growth. It's a good plant. Ingrid Melquist, I always say, that's such a cool plant, because I think if people were into rhododendron bonsai, I think that would be a perfect natural rhododendron bonsai, because, let's get in here, because of all the, I mean, a lot of them will look like this, but this one really does it. It's got just cool, gnarled, twisted branches, and you could train it really easily. And I just think it'd make a cool looking bonsai plant that you could train, and it, you know, it helps you out along the way. It doesn't make it so tough on you. You know, it kind of naturally wants to look like a bonsai, almost like a weeping Japanese maple does. They just, those branches, those trunks grow twisted and really neat and pretty. Anyway, you get the picture. Let's walk around here. We've got, don't forget this bowbell. So I'm going to show you a whole hedge of bowbells, but it's done blooming, unfortunately. So this is Capistrano, another old time favorite. That's a yellow, and this is another one that's pure yellow. Not a lot of them, but no other colors, just yellow. It's not my favorite yellow, but it's a pretty yellow. It's nice. And it's getting taller. Look, it's going way up in there. It's all one plant. One Capistrano. And then we got Phyllis Corn way up there. Shelly loves that one. That's one of her favorites. It's just huge, beautiful, pure flowers. And if you guys like pure yellow flowers, I got one for you. We're going to walk over and show you. This is just going to turn into a long video. What the heck? It is what it is. You guys like that orange? Should I tell you what it's called? I think a lot of you know if you've been following. This is one of our favorites. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? Just take a minute. It's like a tropical paradise in there. What is that one called? I know it. Do you guys know it? It's a beautiful, beautiful rhododendron. Look at this. Check this out. It's got that red down in there. And then down in here. People always looking for orange rhododendrons. Well, it's more of a peachy orange, but there's not many that are orange, but that's one of them that's you could kind of call orange. I mean, there it is next to yellow. So smaller leaf, but it grows tall. It wants to get tall and up. I mean, this is all one plant. This is all, you see that? That's its trunk right there. It's just sprawled out everywhere. It's just all over the place, one plant. Apricot Fantasy. Apricot Fantasy. That is the name of this one. All right, you get your fix this year? We got a whole bed full of nothing but Apricot Fantasy. Let's look over here real quick. We got red gold. Look at this. Look at that color. Gold in the center, red on the outside. It's no wonder they called it red gold. Really nice looking. I like this rhododendron, and it just seems to grow well, although you can tell I didn't get too excited about deadheading last year, but there's a lot to deadhead. Grandma's hat's about to open up. Love that one. We're gonna miss it today, but that's a really nice variety. But that red gold, and here's another one I'm loving, and it's Denali. Well, there's Fred Pest, and that's a pretty red. I really like that one. It's a real small, low growing red, just full of blooms every year. But Denali, such a perfect plant. Oh, Fred Pest, Denali, red gold, no lace bug. Jean Marie, no lace bug. Perfect plants. And this Denali is just, it's a big plant. So if you like Anna Rose Whitney, so there's Denali, there's the whole plant. It's in deep shade and it's under this tree, so it's wanting to grow out towards the sun. But so on the backside it's kind of open, but it's still trying to fill in all in there. But it's just big leaves and it's just a full, beautiful plant. You can't see too easily through there to all the branches, and the blooms are just gorgeous. So this is Denali. Now let's go over and see Anna Rose Whitney, which was always one of my old-time family favorites. Look at that scraggliness. That's on the backside. This is all shade over here and sun over there, so it wants to grow out. But here's the bloom. It's a pretty similar bloom, but I do like this bloom. Don't get me wrong. This is one of my favorite old-time favorites, and I actually need to come back here. This thing's getting too massive. I need to come back here right about where bore salt is, right in line with it, and just hack all that off. Just cut it all off. I might do it this year. And then it'll be back to where its original size, and then it can send up tons of new growth and thicken up and fill in, and I can get it beat down a little bit. It's just a huge plant. And I love the size of the buds. Look at this. Look at the size of that. I mean, these flowers are beautiful, but now look at that pink. Look at how that looks right now. You see that? That's Anna Rose Whitney. Real beautiful, old-fashioned variety. Never have a problem with freezing. No real pest issues at all. Okay, there's that bloom. Here's Denali. It's a very similar bloom, except Denali almost has a lighter it gets lighter as it gets down in that throat there. And I like that look. It almost looks yellow, almost. And the plant isn't so crazy. The plant is so much nicer. And I'm just curious to see how big this thing's gonna get, because it's 6 foot. It's over a couple inches over my head. I'm 5'11", almost 5'11". I'm like 5'10" and 15/16, but don't tell anybody. So anyway, that versus Anna Rose Whitney. What do you think? I like Denali. I think it might become one of my new favorites when it comes to that type of rhododendron. Jean Marie, that's a tried and true old-fashioned, disease, pest resistant, beautiful red, right around Mother's Day. How do you go wrong with that? Can be pruned. It needs to get pruned. And it's just a nice rhodie. We got our wall of Anna Rose Whitney that are scraggly. And yeah, this is what's going on here. We've got hydrangeas buried amongst weeds. So I'm gonna make my way back around to this side again, and we're gonna go through and prune this whole side up. This whole side that I'm standing right in the middle of, all the way down. We're gonna prune it all up, and we're gonna weed all this, and we're gonna bark it again at some point, but I'm working on the other side now. I'm trying to get that cleaned up. There's Nike. I'm gonna show you Nike from the other side in a second. But pretty yellow. Let's go over here. Ooh, Hackman Charmant. Look at that. I love Hackman Charmant because the new buds come out so tall like this. They start opening up. They don't all, not all rhodies do this. Like, where's one that's not doing it? I don't know. Let me see. So like, here's Karen Triplet, and this one isn't looking as good right now, but I got one that's looking beautiful. So you see how most of them just open up right from the bud. They bloom right from the bud. This one has this tall stack, and then it opens up. In fact, here is an example of it fully open. Isn't that pretty? I got another one that's sort of like this called Cherry Cheesecake, but the plant doesn't grow as nice. But it's got big, beautiful buds, and the leaves are nicer. So if I could just put the two of them together, maybe that's a project. I have not hybridized yet, but I started to one year, and then I never followed through with it. Odie Wright, it's towards the end. Beautiful new growth on the leaves. Isn't this just something else? This time of year, everything's just blooming. Everything's just blooming like crazy. And we got Golden Gate just starting. Let's get these weeds out of here. I got to get back over to this side of the property. It's starting to get out of control. I love this Golden Gate. It's hard to tell. It's orange kind of, but when you get to the edge, and it's pink, but it almost has the lightest blue tint around the edge. And I don't know if it's the contrast of that pink and the green leaves. I don't know, maybe I'm nuts, but it almost, you guys tell me, what do you think? It almost looks like it has the lightest blue tint around the edge. It's just such a unique plant. It's smaller leaf, real bushy, low growing, beautiful orangey flower. It's kind of a tropical feel to it. I'll bet a lot of people would like this one, and it's easy to propagate. And for some reason, I haven't propagated it in years. Maybe this is the year. I need to get my intermittent mist set up again, don't I? Build a 20-foot long by 4-foot wide frame and propagate 2,000 rhododendrons. Fire Rim, another massive one. That's the mama. And then Jingle Bells nearing the end. Here's some down here that are still protected from the sun and not fading out yet. It's kind of a different rhododendron. See the contrast? We got a lighter yellow, a darker red. So you got all these contrasting colors. Jingle Bells. And Nike from the other side. See, once again, a yellow with the reddish orange coming out in the buds. But not that Hotai. All right, let's go over here. This is the backside of Ann Rose Whitney, and we've got white gold, and it looks like the sun. We had a couple hot days, and I think the sun's getting some of them. But this is a real pretty one. It's nearing the end of its bloom. It's just a white, you know, it's got a little bit of gold in the center. I like it, it's pretty. Here's another one. It's nearing the end, so the colors start fading out, but it's got some more orangish gold kind of down in there. And it looked prettier maybe a week ago, but then Nancy Evans nearing the middle of its bloom, but it's got that orangey red when it starts, and real pretty plant. But here's Midnight. Love this purple, purplish pink, I guess. I always call it purple, but maybe it is more of a pink. I don't know. That's a nice one though. It's called Midnight. Look at this, another panorama. And there's our bed that is surrounded by, the tree is surrounded by apricot. There I go again. It's getting cold out here today. It was just hotter than heck yesterday. Apricot Fantasy, and then Hotai all the way around. And then I sprinkled in some hostas there, but they're getting overrun. But I like that bed. Then we got Alec G. Holmes over here. This one's still trying to decide if it wants to bloom or not. When this thing's in bloom all at once, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a showstopper. Imagine all of this up here just covering this whole thing, but a bunch of the buds. It's weird this year. It's been hot then cold and hot then cold, and I think these plants are going, what are you doing to me? They're just not sure what they want to do. Oh wow, we've got one little shot of sun coming through, and it's shining. Oh, that is cool. That is so cool. Look at that. That is so cool. It's like the end of the day. One little last shot of sun just blasting through, and it's gone. We got eruption over here. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? That's one of Shelly's favorites. I built a whole bed with nothing but eruption. We'll go back around here. You guys hear them birds chirping? Spring is here. Love is in the air. So here is, well, let's talk about Dell first. This is nearing its end, you can tell. But this is Dell, and it's one of my favorites. I almost got rid of this thing when I bought it. It sat in the hoop house for too long in a pot. It became root bound and looked ugly, and I thought it was dying, and I said, I'm gonna throw this thing out. Never even saw it bloom, didn't know what it looked like. I just didn't have the time. This was like probably 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And something inside of me said, no, Mike, keep it, just keep it. And I kept it, and it's turned out to be one of my all-time favorites. Isn't that kind of a testament in life? You never know. You just never know. Everything deserves a second chance. Everybody deserves a second chance. Maybe a third and a fourth. So this is the one I was going to talk about. This is cherry cheesecake, like that Hackman Charmant that I showed you earlier in the video, just maybe a minute ago. And it's a similar plant, except I like the leaves better. Now, I got a little bit of that root weevil coming up and nibbling on the leaves. And you can get rid of that with chemicals. I try to keep that to a minimum. I've actually never treated for that bug. I probably should, because I get it occasionally. Well, I get it here and there. This one's got it quite a bit, probably because it's lower to the ground. But I don't know. I don't worry about it too much. The new growth comes out, does fine, and you see a little bit of chewed up leaves, whatever. Anyway, this is, it's so similar to Hackman Charmant, but you can see that spire coming up. It's like this tall bud will open up into all these blooms. They'll look just like Hackman Charmant, only on steroids. These blooms, I think, are even more deep and beautiful and almost to the point of looking like cartoonistic, like unreal. They're like, I think these blooms, the buds look like Hackman Charmant and the flowers look like Hackman Charmant, but like I said, on steroids. I like the plant better here. I like the leaves, the rounded leaves, the new growth. It looks much nicer. The buds are bigger than Hackman Charmant, much bigger. And it's just really satisfying. The disadvantage this one has to Hackman Charmant, the one bad thing about this one, it does not have a good base. I don't know if it's it's every one you grow, every single one. I don't know if it's the roots. I don't know. See, I planted this thing way over here. See, it's almost wanting to pull up out of the ground. See how it's leaning way over? I've tried staking it. I've tried doing, look at that. See, there's the roots. You see it moving. I've tried staking it. I've tried doing all kinds of things. And I've pruned it back. I've tried a lot of things. Finally, I said, heck with it. I'm just going to let it grow how it wants. So I let it fall over. And then it actually braced itself on its side and started growing nicer. And I thought, well, maybe it just takes time. So I'm just letting it lay on its side where now it's braced and it can't fall any further. And I'm just letting it grow. And it's getting better and better every year. And look at the size of all those buds, man. Isn't that just so cool looking? Cherry cheesecake. And darned if I don't have a single open bloom on here. You guys would absolutely love to see it. Such a gorgeous bloom. I'll have to come back to that. Or get on my Facebook or my Instagram. I'll post pictures of that. I'll make sure to get back out here. cherry cheesecake. And then we got, oh boy, Arnold Piper. The first blooms we got on this thing were last year. And you guys followed that little storyline. And now it's covered in big blooms. And these things are big. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at my hand compared to that thing. Look at that. I mean, that thing's big as my head. Just massive, beautiful, perfect blooms. Look at that. So cool. I can't get enough of that. Here it is, just trying to open up. This thing this all just happened in the last couple days. It just exploded. I looked over here a couple days ago and it wasn't even that far along. It just, boom, it just happened. There's another one just trying to still open up. Look at that. Just a beautiful plant. But look at that one. It's like still trying to open. It's just such a, I don't know. There it is. It's just beautiful. You know what I'm trying to say. You get me. You plant lovers know what I'm talking about. Getting the sprinklers going again, watering. Fantastic. I just watered this bed, so all the blooms are kind of drooping down from water, but this was looking nicer 30 minutes ago, a couple hours ago, before I had water on it. Sorry guys, I gotta show you to everybody here. Look at that. Fantastica. Isn't that pretty? And this is that one. I've really got to get back over to this side of the property. It is just getting overgrown. Oh, look at all that. I hate this sticky weed stuff. You guys get this stuff? I hate it. It just goes everywhere. And it gets all over everything. And it's not easy to deal with. But if you look down in there, you see what I got there? I got a multi-million-dollar rhododendron burl. Look at that. That thing's like 6-7 inches big. It's a burl on a rhododendron. I've never seen that before. I've been growing this one in this spot just because of that. Just because I didn't want to dig it up or mess with it or try to move it and lose my burl. Lose my... That's my retirement someday, guys. My rhododendron burl. If you don't know what burl is, you can Google it and you will find a whole new world of people who look for burl, cut it down and make furniture out of it. Not rhododendron burl, that's not even really a thing, but it is now. It is on my property. Anyway, just big, ugly, chunky growths right in the middle of a tree, or where it's just meeting at the ground, or it's just a weird growth. And when they cut them open and make slabs out of it, like on maples or walnut or whatever tree you're finding it on, and I'm talking big chunks, the size of the trunk, and you cut it and make a slab out of it, it has just beautiful flowing designs on the wood from the way it grows, all funky. And it goes for big dollars, high dollar stuff. But that's my retirement plan, rhododendron burl. I'm counting on that one little plant to get me there. All right, then we got blue ensign. Everything's been watered in this bed, like I said, so it looked nicer a couple hours ago. Now it's just all wet and drooping down. Tomorrow morning it'll all be fluffed back up and looking good. Here's an individual bloom on there. Blue ensign. Scintillation. Oh, I just love this one. This is an old-fashioned, tried and true, pest resistant. You don't see a speck of that lace bug on there. Nothing. Not a single thing. There's some dirt, but some pollen, but nothing bad. No lace bug. That's a 5-star plant right there. Beautiful blooms. Love it. And we got some blitz. They're pretty much done. They're just dropping all their blossoms. You can see right here. I got a carpet full of red petals. Look at that. It just all happens naturally around here. Every day is Valentine's Day. Puget Sound. That's a beautiful rhododendron. This is in the same family as the loader eyes. I don't know what the parentage is of this one, but it's very fragrant. It grows into just a massive bushy plant we're finding, and it's gonna be huge. Eventually this thing, if I live long enough, this thing's probably, I can only imagine it's gonna be 20 foot high eventually. But I'm gonna have to prune it. It's just massive, but very, very fragrant. Here are some blooms that haven't quite faded out yet all the way. And it's just a beautiful rhododendron, one of Shelley's favorites. It's kind of like the loader eye King George, only not as upright, I guess, but maybe eventually. And then we got Lady de Rothschild. See, sometimes even I draw a blank. Lady de Rothschild. I love this one. Absolutely gorgeous. Last year I made a video of a tour here, and I talked about my buddy Nate Radickle, and Nate and Lolly of Rainier Rhododendrons. I was talking about her earlier in this video, and Nate passed away last year, and it was right around this time. And I put him in the video and talked about that a little bit. But this one always reminds me of them because they have a massive one growing on their property. And she gave me this plant a bunch of years ago, and I babied it, and it's just, I love this one. It's just such a gorgeous one, but it always reminds me of Nate and Lolly. Isn't that cool looking? It's a pretty one. There's some under blooms. Is that a word? Under blooms. It's a real nice plant. You should see theirs. I mean, obviously we're not over there to look at it right now, but I was over there a few days ago, and it was actually further ahead than this one, so you wouldn't have seen it in this state. It was already, everything was pretty much opened. But when it's like half open and you get that contrast like this, it, on a massive one, it is just absolutely gorgeous. And we got our Sir Charles E. Lemon, geez, Mike. Mrs. Charles E. Pearson. And this is Vincent van Gogh. Nice variety. There's one that's still working on opening. There's a earlier one. Vincent van Gogh kind of grows, just wants to go up and all out and all over the place. So I have to keep it pruned back. I love that Mrs. Charles E. Pearson. I've got them all the way down. Let's get some up close of that. It's just such a gorgeous plant, man. How could you not love that? No pests. I mean, a little bit of root weevil, but no lace bug. That's the detrimental one right now. Never had it succumb to Phytophthora, or Phytophthora. I think I had an I in there. Never had a problem with that one. And it's just, look at, I mean, it's just so, it gets massive, but it's so beautiful and floriferous. Look at that. Just tons of Virginia Richards. Nearing the end. That one you got to see in the middle of the bloom cycle to get the full effect. North, nearing the end. Another one, the yellows with the, starts out kind of orangey, reddish orange buds open up to, there's one right there. Reddish orange buds opening up to all that yellow. But it turns pure yellow, I mean, once it opens. There it is, just real yellow. Kind of looks orange in the, orangey yellow in this camera, but it's a yellow, it's a real true yellow. Look at this, guys, you're gonna like this. Well, first of all, there's my Apricot Fantasy hoe-tie bed from the backside, and it looks a lot more full and nice over here. It's in the shadier side. But let's come over here. Actually, I'm gonna stop this because it's getting long in the video, and I'm gonna restart it. All right, kind of start that little timer over again. So this is one that everybody loves. It's called Black Widow, and it's the best it's ever looked. It's got the most blooms it's ever had. I think this is only gonna get better and better with time. Such a deep, deep red. The buds were just almost black when it started opening. There's one that's still trying to open. And this camera's making it look a little lighter than it is, but it's just so dark. And then it opens up to this beauty. Isn't that cool? Black Widow. There it is. There's just so much blooming right now. That's very berry. Big blooms. Midnight Mystique. Almost looks like a smaller version of pomegranate splash that I showed you in the very beginning. Everything's happening right now. And look at this one. This is, so I showed you that Lem's Monarch over in the first bed, the very first bed, the beginning of this video. Here's a bigger version. And this isn't even the mama. There's a bigger version. And there's a dump truck. Isn't that just awesome? Doesn't that just look great? You almost can't beat that. They're big blooms. Big tropical looking blooms. You start out just that darker color. I got another one over on the other side. It might actually be further along than this because it's in more sun. But let's go take a look at it. Yeah, it's further along, so you don't get as much of that pink effect, but a little more white in there. And here it is. This is a big one. This sucker's over my head, 6.5 feet tall probably. Well, you get, it's still doing its thing. See, actually, in fact, we got a little sunburn on there. It's been a dry spring so far. We're actually short on rain, and I think I just didn't get enough water to it soon enough. But, I mean, look at that. If that's all you got to worry about, it's still beautiful. Oh, I got to show you guys Picobello. I bought this one. Oh, and there's Marley Hedges. Last year when I did the tour, I forgot the name of this one. And I just remembered it real easy now. Why do our brains work that way? Kind of looks like Grandma's hat, but Grandma's hat is much nicer bloom. And it grows nicer, Grandma's hat. There's Picobello. It's a small, low growing. Now this one, don't look at this one and think this is just the size it is. This whole bed was planted way before that was planted. I planted this as an afterthought years after I planted the rest of this bed. So it hasn't been growing the same. It wouldn't plant it at the same time. It would probably be filling this whole area in right now. But you get the idea here. It's a smaller plant. It's more compact. It doesn't put up too long of new growth. So it's going to stay more compact and eventually get big over time. But isn't that just a nice flower, nice bloom? Nice beautiful leaves, and look at that. Anyway, Picobello. I got that one up at Whitney's garden. We're gonna head up there here probably sometime this spring. Take a look at it. I've been up there once before, and that's when I bought that Picobello. Beautiful garden, Whitney Garden up on the peninsula, up just north of, what lake is that? Lake Cushman. And this is Shelley's entire bed of eruption. I planted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And I even had to stake one up because it got so heavy last year. Beautiful bloom up close. And then when you start backing up, it all just looks pink. But that was, she loved that. That was one of her favorites a long time ago. And she said, I want a bed of just those. So there's her bed of just those. Eruption. And then we got some things, that's Gomer Water, hasn't opened up yet. Marquita's Prize, another one of Shelley's. And that thing was growing over into my Kimberly. This one normally grows more thick and full, as you can see down here. But up top here, it's more sparse because Marquita's Prize was just like covering it. And I had to get Shelley to understand sometimes you got to prune these things. She was like, no, don't prune it, don't prune it. It was all the way over here, blooms everywhere. And I was like, we got to prune it. And we pruned it. Now she's like, oh, that looks really nice. But in the meantime, Kimberly suffered a little bit, but that's all right. She'll grow back. Actually, I need to do a bit. I need to come back over this side. Isn't that just, look at that. I need to come back over here. I need to get working on the weeding and barking and pruning. We got Cherokee Brave, pink dogwood, white dogwood, red leaf Japanese maple. Isn't that just gorgeous though? Just everywhere you look, blooms, blooms, blooms. It's Mother's Day. Well, it's Mother's Day week. Let's put it that way. Pierce's American Beauty, full of buds, ready to open up. Nice plant, no problems, no pests. Just looks perfect and beautiful every year. Purple flower with some yellow in there. Another Virginia Richards. Oh, and then we got our, we're kind of cycling around here. Horizon Monarch, nearing the end. Such a beauty. I put that picture up. I put a couple of pictures up on Facebook, I think, on the nursery page and on Instagram, and people just love that one. Such a nice plant. And the only reason that this looks like this right now is because the top 20 or 30 foot of that tree broke out 2 years ago and fell right here. And I left part of its stump right here just because I like the look of it. Not stump, but just the part of its trunk. Anyway, it busted a huge chunk out of here, and so it's still trying to recover. It's sending up new growth in the middle, but that's why it looks like that. Normally it would be rounded and beautiful. So it's just a perfect plant. Real nice yellow. There's that bowbells. There's a whole hedge of them. There's like 7 of them in there, and they're just like growing into one massive hedge. And it is further along than the other one even, so we're not going to see the blooms. But I think I do have some video with the blooms in full bloom. I'll have to show you. And then we got Halfdan Lem. That's the name of a man. I don't know if he's from Sweden or Holland or somewhere over there, but anyway. And then we've got my Lem's Cameo. It's really starting to come into its own. Never had the plant. Got 3 cuttings from Lolly one year, and one of them rooted, and this is it. Never taken cuttings from it. I've just got this plant, and it's growing nicer and nicer and thicker and fuller. It's coming up from the bottom, filling in, and it's doing better and better every year. I love that new reddish bronze kind of growth. That's all new growth in it. And here's the bloom. It's actually so close to the end now, you're not going to see it in all its glory, but it's a beautiful bloom and a beautiful plant. A lot of the new growth starting to come out on some of these, and that's just as much of a show. I really like the new growth, the new branches coming out. Hallelujah, massive hedge of them. There's the green giants. What are those things, like 11 foot tall, 12 foot tall probably? Some of them getting huge. We planted those as tiny little 1 gallon guys a bunch of years ago, and they're just, every year they're growing at a faster and faster rate. Let's run over here real quick. Check out all this. So this is a bed that Shelly and I just started working on. We've always wanted to do this. I went and planted a whole bunch of Lem's Monarch. We limbed all these fir trees up, and it creates a nice little room back in there. Eventually it'll be a little cave in the rhododendrons, but that's our hedge towards the outside, towards the gate of Anna Kruschke right there, all the way down. And there's some Anna Rose Whitney thrown in there and some Pieris. And we've got 2 deciduous azaleas. They're the only ones I've got because the deer like them, but I keep them kind of protected over here. I mean, the deer could get to them, and they have in the past, but I just pray they don't. They're getting better every year. Very fragrant. That's Mount St. Helens. And this one's Klondike. I think it's Klondike, I'm pretty sure. Here, I still got the tag. I bought these, I didn't propagate them. I didn't root them. They're a tough one to root, these deciduous azaleas. Let's see, where is it? That tag's already fading out. It's been on there for a while. Klondike, yeah. Klondike and Mount St. Helens. And they are super fragrant. So when you're asking about azaleas and how you propagate them, they're propagated totally different ways. And the evergreen are much easier to propagate. And here's that yellow I was telling you about. This is such a soft, beautiful, perfect yellow, but it is affected by that lace bug, the plant is. But that's Karen triplet. And it's a really nice plant, or a really nice bloom. I wish the plant could fight off that bug. This bug is driving me nuts. There's a bunch of grandiflorum in full sun, or not full sun actually, but more sun and heat in the evening, and they're already starting to bloom. So that's the difference it makes. We got some blooms ending I missed this year, but beautiful. You've seen them in other videos, other tours. Honey butter nearing the end. Looked really nice a few weeks ago. If I can find clips of that, I'll slip it in here. Gold bucket just starting to open up. That's a nice one. This is GW Leek nearing the end. This is my next conquest. I need to prune this whole bed up and get all the weeds under control, rebark it, get it looking just beautiful. I just finished all of that. This bed, I just did all that. I pruned everything up and weeded it all down, and I need to bark it, but that one's looking a lot better. I need to come over here and get this one now. It's a slow process, but I've got nothing but time. Wild ginger. And Lolly just gave me one of these, and I told her I didn't have it. I didn't think I had it. And then I found it over here, although it's not doing good in that spot. So hers is super healthy compared to mine. I need to get rid of that thing and replace it, but in a different spot. Hide and Dawn. That one pops. Cody, really like Cody. Starting to get darker out here. Hopefully this is picking it up. I'm gonna have to hurry this up. We're running into overtime. I like that Cody. It's a real hardy plant. It's just growing like crazy in this spot right next to this tree. And some of them don't do as well next to big fir trees. So I really like that Cody. All right, let's come on up here. So this bed is just looking spectacular. That's my electric blue Augustinii. It didn't bloom this year because all the flower buds got zapped by the cold. I think I had like 2 blooms on it. Everything's coming along. Ponticum species. A lot of these are species back behind here. Mrs. Charles E. Pearson again. We got another Horizon Monarch nearing the end. Blooms are falling. Beautiful new growth. Love this plant. I love all the little Christmas bows on the new growth. Isn't that cool? I just think that's so cool. They all kind of do their own thing with the new growth. We've got species magnolia with massive leaves. I pruned that up too. And then I took a little picture, and I think I showed a little video on Instagram of this. This is my cherry float. And that's a pretty one. That's a really nice one. There's some buds still trying to open up here. Real pretty flower. Sometimes the pictures are pretty, but sometimes it's nice for you guys to see what these plants look like and these blooms look like in 3D. I mean, well, you're looking at a 2D screen, but when you see it moving, the camera moving around the plant, you can kind of get a better understanding of what it looks like. Go through the species garden. These leaves will get massive. They just keep growing. And then huge blooms. That's that magnolia, species magnolia. And this is Tofino. It's got a real tropical looking bloom. And I found this one, as you can see, just wants to go up. And it's soaring to the moon, buddy. Just getting this light. Oh, there's another bloom a little lower. In fact, that's such a... I wonder if I can take a picture while this is filming. It's such a beautiful... Yeah. Oh, there it is. I don't know if it got it or not. That's a beautiful bloom though, but yeah, you can see it just wants to go up, 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 up. I don't even think I had to prune anything on that, maybe a branch or two. Just wants to go up. And we got lots of, this is my species, Calophytum, starting with the new growth. Real pretty. I love that, how that new growth looks, and then it opens up. It's coming along. And there's that platypodum with them big round leaves. This is the one that had the one first bloom that I've ever seen on it. I'm pretty sure it was the first bloom. But there's the new growth just coming out, and those leaves are just massive. And then the new growth is like a lime green, turned into a deeper green. Beautiful plant. I love that one. I need to do some layers on that. I don't know if cuttings are going to work on that thing. I'm going to try some air layers, I think, this summer. Such a beautiful plant. All right, it is starting to get darker. This phone is helping me out, but I need to, actually, let's go around the front because there's nothing blooming out back here. There's a Tiana, there's 3 of them planted here. And it's a pretty, it's not quite as prominent as Picobello, but it's pretty, it's subtle. And it is blooming like crazy. Whole hedge of Anna Rose Whitney and Mrs. Charles E. Pearson. Alina. This one's coming to an end. Don't know the name of it. And Anna Kruschke. Old classic. Hardy, resistant to everything. Purple. And that's about it for right now. We're going to be opening up new areas, and so here I'll show you a shot of this whole thing. So you can see I cleaned everything up. I pruned everything up pretty good under here, and then got it all weeded out nice and sprayed the edges to kind of redefine all that. And our plan is to just keep expanding over here. I'm probably gonna take that tree down because it's not doing any good. It's super tall, no branches all the way up. And it's sucking more moisture than it needs to from all these other areas. So I need to kind of open that area up. That'll probably become firewood. And then I'm gonna do more beds of rhodies here. I'm gonna leave all those big leaf maples because I love big leaf maples. And then we'll just do more rhodies around here and all the way. So that this house is just surrounded by rhodies all the way around to the other side. And that's the plan. So there it is. This was a really, really long video, but for those of you who care about the blooms, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more plant videos, garden tours, and just listen to me babble for an hour. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I'll see you in the next video. Adios.